Welcome to Kalu Plays COD, and today's video is going to be a lot different to the other videos that I've posted. So today we aren't going to be talking about Call of Duty or the progression of the game or the future of the series. Instead, I'm going to be talking about something that I'm quite passionate about, and I believe that it will relate to a lot of people that watch my channels. And that is why life is actually really hard if you are currently in 2025 in your 20s. So I think that if you were born between the ages of, say, 1999 to 2007, I genuinely believe that if you are currently in your 20s and you were born between those years, that life seems much more difficult and there are a lot more barriers to success. So we'll start with why I think this. So there's a few reasons. The first is, if you were born between those years, education became less significant. So if you went to school, start with secondary school, you were encouraged to learn English, maths and science. You finish education and then you are further encouraged to go to college, i.e. continue more education. All that pressure has been put on you, the GCSEs, to find out that then all the effort you put into your GCSEs is completely useless because now you need A-levels. You are told that A-levels are more important. The other choice that you have is that you could do an apprenticeship, but they were discouraged. But yet now we find out that that was probably the best way to go. The main problem is that with apprenticeships it takes, say, 5 to 6 years to earn a decent amount of money, which also put people off. So most people ended up dropping out of apprenticeships. If you instead went to college, which is what most people were encouraged to do, especially if you were just that average intelligence, you were encouraged to go to college instead, which means that you were given even more pressure to complete your A-levels. There was more pressure to complete your A-levels than there were GCSEs, because that was what was going to... that is the earliest you could leave work. You were forced to stay into education until you were 18. So all that work you put into GCSEs, you were told that basically no one cares, because now you've got A-levels that are more important. So that ends up being useful, because A-levels only get you into university. That's what you were told. You complete your A-levels, and then your A-levels are what going to get you into university, or potentially get you a job. But mainly, A-levels were to get you into university, to teach you how to get into even more education. Now, normally, that would be absolutely fine, but then you go to uni, except this time education isn't free. Education costs hundreds of thousands of pounds, and you were encouraged to go. You were told that employers want degrees, only to finish university and find out that now, whilst you were at university, employers change their mind. And now they don't really care if you have a degree. In fact, they are looking for people specifically without a degree because they found that they can train you up without one. Why did this change? Well, it changed because during the time, if you were in your 20s, that you went to university, all of a sudden, everyone now has a degree. Because when you were in education, you were encouraged to do one. So now, because everyone has a degree became less valuable. So employers started to look for other important aspects that they felt was a reason to employ you. And the second is that employees need people, and they realised that it was quicker and easier to train the employees themselves instead of wait for people to have a degree. So more people would apply for the job. So now you've gone to university, you have potentially hundreds of thousands of pounds worth of debt, which would be really helpful Except when your parents went, having that £100,000 worth of debt was worth it, because having a degree meant that you would earn more. So it was a worthwhile debt. It was guaranteed that you'd get a higher paid job. But now there's people coming out of university and they can't even get a job. You look to all your friends that went to school and they went and got an apprenticeship instead. And by the time you finish university, they're ready to start buying a house. They have more money than you. They have less debt. They can buy a house. And they started work 5 years before you because you went to college. So all of a sudden, the people that went and did an apprenticeship are in better stead, even though you were encouraged to go to universities. Only a very small amount of people went into apprenticeships and earned enough money to have a stable life. So that's education, right? That's just one problem. Now let's move on to dating. So if you're currently in your 20s, there is a high probability that your parents met in person. Your parents are probably between the ages of 40 and 60 years old. Your parents met in person and they probably got married and had children quite young. But back then, social media didn't really exist. Maybe Facebook, my dad talks about Facebook a lot, he uses Facebook a lot. But then that was really the only social media. Whereas now there's dating apps. And that happened while people in their 20s started dating. Dating apps came out. And that changed how dating worked. So unless you didn't get a dating app, you met someone else who didn't have a dating app, you went to university, you met a partner who wanted a stable relationship, then you probably have managed to settle down. But statistically, what probably happened is you have tried dating apps. And the thing with dating apps is the photos are unrealistic, the dating market encourages money over connection, and everyone appears to be more attractive and be given a false sense of security and told that they basically have endless options because there's millions and millions and millions of people on dating apps. So that change happened whilst people in their 20s were going to university and started to date. The dating market changed, so finding a partner and getting into a stable relationship suddenly became really difficult. So the chances are you are now single. So you've gone to university because you're encouraged to do so. You've got thousands, hundreds of thousands pounds worth of debt, and you've come out, and the chances are the dating market has stopped you from being able to get into a relationship. Your parents can't understand why, because they met in person, which was how dating worked back then. They were basically forced to. They were encouraged to get married in early years. As a result, they compare it to you, and they don't really understand why you don't have a girlfriend or a boyfriend. And the answer is nobody wants to settle down anymore. Nobody understands that your parents think that you just can't socialise. And when you are dating people, it's completely unrealistic because you can't really not use dating apps. So unless you are successful on dating apps, you know how to take photos, you know how to present yourself, chances are you didn't meet anyone. The reality is the dating market changed whilst you were dating. So it went from meeting people in person to suddenly no one wanted to meet in person, everyone wanted to go on dating apps. Things got more expensive, dates got more expensive, dating got more expensive because dating apps cost money, and you are now in debt for realistically a pointless degree because no one wants to hire anyone just because they have a degree. But then something else changed. So on top of dating, on top of social media, on top of education costing more money, suddenly social media in itself also changed. If you're in your 20s, you probably started out with Facebook. Facebook became Instagram. So instead of reading words where people would post stuff on Facebook about their life, suddenly it became Instagram, where your feed was just photos of people making their lives look more and more amazing. Then these photos became videos because you could upload videos to Instagram. And then the videos became Reels and TikTok. Reels and TikTok are designed to hook you in, creating a constant feed of entertainment and consumption. You are encouraged to consume more than you create. So we are now in a market where anyone can make money from creating content, including people you went to school with, or people you just knew from across the road, or people you went to university with. But because we are encouraged to consume, statistically, most people are consuming more than they are creating. If you're in your 20s, you are wired to consume. You're wired to constantly go on your phone, look how other people's lives are, and instead not progress your life in itself, because everything else has made it so difficult. Your education costs money, but it couldn't get you a job. The dating market changed, so it's difficult to find a stable relationship. And on top of that, your feed is full of people who got it right. So I make this video because I want to encourage you to instead flip it. If you understand that you are being wired to consume content more than you create, that includes YouTube Shorts, Instagram Reels, TikTok, when you realise that you're actually consuming on your phone more than you are creating stuff, then I'm encouraging you to flip it. If instead you create more than you consume, people don't make money because they consume. They make money because they create content. If you want to actually change your life, create content, make something, anything, a video, a reel, but from making more than you consume, if you simply apply for a job, you look for work, you use the money that you get from a very, very small job. Yes, it's frustrating because you've got a degree and you think you should get a high job. Any job, use the money to progress your life and not consume. Use it to make your own business. Use it to go to the gym and make yourself look better and feel better instead of sitting down and just watching TikTok reels. Use the money to start a business. Go on your phone and instead of consuming the stuff on TikTok, make something that you are passionate about. And I promise you that if you do this, you will overcome the struggle of being in your 20s. Now, I appreciate that it's harder to do it than me saying it. But I truly think that in the world that we live in, the best way to make money and progress your life is to start doing anything. That includes making videos, that includes just going up and applying for a job. Because you are not just going to get a degree and get any job that you want. You need to start from having a job, and instead of using the money on things that you want to entertain yourself, again, more consumption, you should instead use the money to progress your life. Because the things that you consume encourage you to consume more. So I'm encouraging you to instead use that money to progress. If you enjoyed the video, drop a like, subscribe to the channel because I mainly do gaming videos, but I'll also occasionally be dipping into topics such as this. And yet again, let me know what your opinion is on this topic. See you in the next video.